All right, I think we're live here. Today our podcast will be talking about some of the latest news, latest developments happening here in Santa Barbara. We'll touch on a few of the latest real estate stats as well, and we're going to try to keep this one short for a change.
Fingers crossed.
Under 40 minutes is a realistic target, I'd say.
Yeah.
So anyhow, Devin, we'll jump right into it. What's some of the latest news here?
Sure. Yeah.
Breaking news in
So
Santa Barbara.
exactly. Yeah. So just in the past few days here, they announced that Nordstrom was going to close, and that's the one on State Street in the Paseo Nuevo Mall in downtown Santa Barbara, and that has been the anchor for that mall for quite some time. It's the biggest space in there. It attracts the most people, and all the other businesses kind of leverage off of their traffic. So I think with that closing, it just kind of begs the question of, is this continuing to be a trend, both in terms of the plight of State Street? We're seeing a lot of commercial vacancies on State Street, but also I think brick and mortar retail, just as a whole, we're seeing kind of a trend towards smaller spaces or shared spaces, vendors chopping up a space and divvying up the rent or whatever. So I know Nordstrom will be a big loss for downtown, and we'll see either what replaces it or what tries to replace it. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about because, like you said, I mean, that I feel like that is one of the main drivers to Paseo Nuevo Mall, which is our famous outdoor mall, right? But
Mm-hmm.
Nordstrom was like the anchor. That was the reason why people would go to the mall, and then you'd end up kind of sifting to some of the other places, maybe a couple of little eateries or smoothie shops. But yeah, it's crazy to think about. I mean, yeah, definitely visited Nordstrom's quite a few times, get my shoes there usually. Favorite shoe shine guy, Domingo. Man,
Ooh,
I got to follow where that guy ends up going because
all right.
that's where I go to keep
Domingo,
my
if
shoes
you're
looking
listening,
fresh.
yes,
Yes, Domingo, where are you? We'll follow you. But yeah, man, such a shame. And one of the other closings that just happened recently is Plum Goods, which was truly a local company started by a SB local gal, Amy Cooper, who's just the sweetest gal. I mean, I was telling you earlier, she's just really easy to root for. You want her to succeed. And she had such a cool store idea where it was, a lot of local products, just things that you don't find in your big chains like a Nordstrom. So I just remember every year I did my Christmas shopping there. I get everyone's gifts from there. And they had kind of a good mix of kind of some higher end nice things, and then just some cool, fun little ideas too, like the coasters that have song lyrics that are kind of botched, or the way you think a song sounds, but it's not the actual lyrics.
right.
So just fun things like that. So man, just such a shame to see that go out of business. And the crazy thing is, this is kind of like the COVID-19 is like a double whammy. We had the debris flow incident in Montecito back in 2018, and that was the first time that we saw tourism really suffer. People stopped coming to Santa Barbara. There was this stigma like it wasn't safe to be here, which wasn't the case at all. That was a kind of a one-off type situation with that debris flow, but nonetheless, the news was out there and tourism did slow. And so State Street and other retail shops just were struggling already as a reverberation of that event. And then just to go right into this COVID-19, it's like these shops that were just hanging on by a thread after that now get in this COVID-19. And so that's kind of like what we touched on in our last podcast about, supporting our local business as much as we can so that we don't see more of these end up closing the doors.
Yeah, I think a lot of these stores operate on such a low margin already that it's hard to
Yeah,
withstand, one
rents
big
are high.
blow, and then you get kind of two of them sort of back to back. And yeah, a lot of them are going to go under, like we talked about.
Yeah. The other interesting one that isn't a small business, but the Forever 21, which to me was kind of like the heart of downtown Santa Barbara because you're on the corner of State Street and Carrillo Street, or I think Cannon Bernardino Street, right? So
Yeah,
it's
I can't believe
right,
it.
right there in that,
Hmm.
like the nucleus of downtown Santa Barbara. They actually just closed shop. And interestingly enough, the main talk of what to turn that huge space into is a cannabis museum. And so the word is that you would cultivate and consume cannabis, and experience a museum, which I have no idea what you look at in a cannabis museum. I imagine the conversations are very insightful, but yeah,
Yeah.
who would have thought Forever 21 would turn into a cannabis museum?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you'll have a bunch of UCSB current students and alumni maybe checking that out.
Yeah, could be. I mean, it could be the most brilliant, genius idea that anybody's thought of. But
Yeah.
anyhow, stay tuned on that one. That'll be an interesting pivot
But it,
for the space.
yeah, but it's interesting that, not just the local companies, but also the national ones too, kind of both,
Right.
getting hit or taking the same approach. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so that's some of just the latest news. Again, our hope is that we're not reporting more of these closures, and that we're, keeping a lot of the doors open here in Santa Barbara as we start to see some measures relaxing a little bit. But yeah, let's
Yeah.
let's get into the real estate. What's been going on the real estate front?
Yeah, so that was the commercial realm. So we'll move into the residential side, and we've been doing a lot of week to week stats lately, but I wanted to kind of zoom out a little bit and talk about the year to date for 2020 versus the year to date for 2019. So we're talking January 1st through early May, and when you compare 2019 to 2020, the volume of single family homes that are selling is down about 10 to 25%, depending on which little niche of the market you want to look at. Condo volume is down even more, between
Mm,
25 to 40%.
wow.
So we're seeing a lot fewer homes and condos being sold. But interestingly enough, prices haven't really been impacted much at all. If you look at the single family home median sale price for 2019 year to date versus 2020, it's basically unchanged. And condo prices have actually gone up a little bit, 3% in that time frame as far as the median price goes. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, volume of transactions is down, but prices are relatively unchanged. That's the takeaway.
Right. Interesting. And I think we're probably just starting to see more new listings come on the market, where I think the knee-jerk reaction when all this COVID-19 started was a lot of people withdrew their listings from the market because they were freaked out and didn't know what to expect. There was all that uncertainty. Now you're starting to see the list ramp up, and
Mm-hmm.
time will tell if the more listings equates to more sales.
Yeah, absolutely. So next, what we're going to do here, we're going to dive into a little bit of the marketing that you and I do. So um, specifically with respect to listings that we have. So I just wanted to take a minute to do a little screen share here and kind of describe one of our tools.
And this tool is, when we list a property, we create a website specific to your listing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this beautiful home on the Riviera at 1314 Hillcrest, all you have to do is go to 1314hillcrest.com, and it takes you to this dedicated website with all information just about this listing.
Mm-hmm.
You get all
Exactly.
the bullet
So
points.
we have the bullet points up front. So, just little bite-sized pieces of information that have all the pertinent details, the listing price, and then, we do our best, of course, to make it visually as appealing as possible, just to kind of spark that excitement when you think about how a buyer might look at this.
Sure.
Um, so we get a full gallery here with, of course, the highest quality photos. We always use professionals. Um, and then we go down here, same thing, highest quality video. We have like internal shots, and then also some drone footage as well. So we, do everything we can to put these properties in their best light.
Right. So yeah, I mean, the videos kind of years ago, it was the standard was to have professional photos. We believe that now the standard includes having professional video shot as well. And so they're doing a pan of inside the home, so you get to see all the features inside the home, but also having the capability of doing the aerial drone shots, so you really see what the setup and the landscape looks like from there.
Exactly. And then taking that one step further, even the next level of, visuals for a buyer is using, in this instance, we use Matterport, but there's several technologies that accomplish this same thing. But essentially what it is, it allows you to kind of walk through the home digitally, like you would on, say, like Google Street View, for example. So I
Yeah.
can click through the property, I can scan around up and down, and really, this is great on a number of levels. You can vet buyers, right? So your sellers aren't inconvenienced with people just wanting to kick the tires on the home without having really seen it. From a buyer perspective, if you either can't make it, maybe you live in a different state, you want to see the property before you fly out, or in today's climate where it may not be the smartest decision health wise to go and tour a bunch of properties, you can really check out properties before you go, and it's great for both buyers and sellers. So that's just another way that we promote
Yeah,
properties.
click over here so you get to see the view from there.
Oh yeah,
Let's give a shout out to the view here.
let's step outside here.
Yeah, let's step outside and finish this conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you got a straight shot of the harbor, Channel Islands, Santa Cruz Island out there. Obviously, see the water. But yeah, kind of to what you're saying, Devin. I mean, it's a great, almost like an essential tool nowadays to just vet the buyers, right? Instead of just getting, somebody who's casually looking and, oh yeah, I want to check out this house. It's like, well, we encourage buyers, especially if they have an agent. We'll talk to the agent, say, make sure that they look at this 3D walk through, this 3D tour. Make sure that they understand the layout. And so this tool, having this tool nowadays in this market, I feel is essential, not only to address people who are from out of state who might not want to hop on the next plane to go look at the place unless they know it's perfect. This will tell them if the place works, but also some people just still feel uncomfortable going into strangers' homes who they don't know. And so again, in my opinion, there's nothing that replaces walking through a property, but this is the second best thing that you can offer.
Exactly. So continuing further down on the website, we've got a simple map right here. So it just kind of contextualizes the location for people who may not be familiar. And then lastly, we've got a form here. So if a buyer is interested in one of our listings, they just put in their name, their email, boom, that goes straight to us and we respond instantly. So just another way to capture leads and make sure that our sellers know that we're not missing any opportunities to attract the buyer.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
All done.
Yeah, getting used to that,
huh? The screen share.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's move on to some just kind of fun facts here. What are you doing these days in the grocery store? How are you handling grocery shopping these days?
Oh man, getting in and out as fast as possible. No, we try to go at times where it may be less busy, and I know that's changed lately, where not too many people have to go to work anymore. But yeah, try and go in the off times if you can, get in and out quickly, and really try to stick to the spots that are doing a really good job. One place that we go to regularly is Tri-County Produce, and they have an incredible setup. They wipe down the cart, they make you put on their own gloves that they keep there brand new. They've got the plexiglass thing at the register. Everything's spaced out. Yeah, great. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I've actually pulled up to Whole Foods before and just turned right around because the line was just so long. And I know they say it goes quick. I think they let 5 in at a time. And again, I can't knock them. They're doing the right thing, right? When you see a line, it's because they're really honoring the distancing practices. So yeah, I mean, I try to also go at off times. I mean, same thing, get masked up. I heard from one place like not to pull out your phone a lot in there just because it reduces the chance of more contamination. So
Mm.
I try not to have my grocery list on my phone, so I'm not pulling it out and touching it after I just picked up a bunch of products. So
Yeah.
yeah, I try to limit the amount of times I go. My mother lives in town too. She's 76, and so I am going grocery shopping for her as well. And so I just try to really piggyback the grocery trips to where, if I need a few things and I need to get my mom a few things, I'll do that.
That's awesome. Very good.
Yep.
Next up here, we got what shows are you watching? I don't know if that's Netflix or Hulu or whatever, but what are you watching?
I got both these days, so
Ooh,
I don't always have a ton of time, but I
yeah.
actually just finished. I'm all caught up on Westworld, so
Ooh.
I had lagged on it after the second season, and I think they finished the whole third season, and so good for me because I could kind of binge on it when I had time. But
It's funny you bring that up because I missed the boat initially on Westworld, but we caught up. We binged season 1 and 2 recently, and got into early season 3, and I just got my brain was so tired of trying to keep track of who's who.
yes, I know, right, right. No spoilers here, but you'll see what we mean if you get that far.
Yeah, it's funny.
That was I love that show, and it's just kind of crazy because you see a lot of futuristic things, and it's like we might not be too far off from some of those things. Like they're
Yeah,
showing the driverless cars and driverless
absolutely.
Ubers. So kind of cool. And then a show that everybody's been talking about, and if you watch Breaking Bad, the kind of the spinoff is Better Call Saul. And I remember Roger Durling, who's our director of the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, told me the one show that like I need to watch if I haven't was Better Call Saul. So I just started watching it, and it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. That's funny. It reminds me. Yesterday, I was in a parking lot somewhere, and somebody on their license plate it said "lawyer up," and I
Mm,
just thought immediately of Saul Goodman.
Saul good, man. Good old
Yeah.
Saul. What
We're
about you?
watching. We've been watching the Last Dance, which is the documentary that ESPN is putting out about Michael
Oh,
Jordan.
MJ.
Yeah, that's been pretty awesome. As far as fiction goes, I was really big into Ozark
Mm-hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
along, and that just had season 3. So very cool show in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
right, last
My
up we
wife, my
got.
wife's into that, and we stopped watching shows together because our schedules just conflict too much.
All right, I'll have to hit up Aniko see what her takes
Yeah.
are on it.
Get the gossip.
That's awesome. Okay, last bullet point here: tips for keeping your sanity during this. You got
Oh yeah.
anything?
It's hard with two little rascals at home. I mean, I feel like I'm losing my sanity every
You don't
single
have much
day.
sanity to maintain. You're just
Yeah,
trying to get it back.
totally. I think I've lost it, and I'm just trying to get it back. I try to do my active things. We talked about this early on. We're both active people, so
Yeah.
I'm not able to do my normal activities like jujitsu, and you know, so if I can tweak a few push-ups in, or if I can go for like a 20 or 30-minute run around the neighborhood,
Mhm.
it's kind of the whole David Goggins principle, like don't find an excuse, just get out and do it. And so there's
Mhm.
some days where I'm just so tired, and the last thing I want to do, it's 7:30 and it's going to be dark by 8. The last thing I want to do is go for a run, but
Yeah.
I'll just put my shoes on and walk out the door, and it's like all of a sudden I'm running.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just doing that. I do try to do, again, I try to meditate in the evening. It's either 2 minutes or 10 minutes. So I try not to judge myself on that, but just finding a little bit of time to kind of slow down and
Mhm.
be present. And then even with the kids, you know, just in these kind of crazy times, I'm trying to really be cognizant of being present during all of this with them because they grow fast. So I want to be able to appreciate all the moments that we're having right now.
That's awesome, man. Sounds good.
What about you?
I have, gosh, we spend so much of our day, working virtually, right? So you're on your laptop, you're on your phone. And then in your spare time, maybe you're on your laptop and your phone as well, whether it's like social media or, YouTube or whatever.
Totally.
I've actually taken a lot of pleasure lately in reading, like a
Mm-hmm.
physical book.
Yeah.
One, it relaxes your eyes. You don't have that screen glare coming. And then it's just kind
Blue
of
light.
peaceful to just like focus on just that. So reading an interesting book on World War II, aviation kind of stuff right now. So yeah, reading's been good lately.
Nice. I have a stack of books. I need to get on that program. Maybe now that
Awesome.
Westworld's over, I'll pick up one of those books. Blow the dust off of it.
Exactly. Cool. I think that was everything we had. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We're slowly getting shorter and shorter on our podcast. So, but
Yeah.
I think on our next one, we might have a special guest. So, yeah, stay tuned.
Ooh, who could that be? We'll find out.
We'll find out. Just got to tune in. All right, everybody.
All right.
Signing off.
See you guys.